Hey everyone, we are back with another episode of Let's Talk Astrology Business. I'm your co-host, Lori Barnes with Kepler College and Lori Barnes Astrology. I'm going to let my co-host Marie introduce herself.
Hello, everybody. I'm Marie O'Neill with Padma Life Coaching and also with Kepler College.
We are excited to talk to you about today's topic. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Today, we're talking about AI, artificial intelligence, and astrology. We know it's a hot topic, so we thought we would cover that for you today. These are the topics we're going to cover, and we just like to give you a preview before we jump into it. I'm sure that Callum, who edits our videos, thank you, Callum, will put the different time stamps on there or the chapters. So if there's something in particular, you can jump to it.
That helps a lot, I'm sure. Yeah.
We thought we would start off with a quote that kind of sets the tone for today's presentation. Marie, do you want to share our quote?
Yes, I certainly can. We are in the time period where if you don't know about AI and what it can do for you, then you are already falling behind. This is by Mark Mander of Workfence, and it is so true. We must all know about AI and know how we want to incorporate it in our lives so that we don't fall behind, especially if we're in business.
Yeah, yeah. I have to say that this quote gave me a 180 on AI. Before I read this quote, I actually read the whole white paper that he wrote. Mark Monder wrote a white paper on AI, and it's been a while. I'd say it was maybe the middle of 2023. And I was reading it just in the context of marketing. And when I read that, I said, wow, I don't want to be left behind. So I better learn something about this AI business.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And when I first heard about it, I was completely, even as a Gemini, I was thinking of the negative aspects of it, the jobs, the people who would have to change what they're doing and all of that. And I wanted to, but I also wanted to understand how it worked. And so I just went ahead and started doing a bit of research just to see what was going on, how it worked. And then eventually it's like, wow, you can still use it and without throwing the baby out with the bathwater, so to speak.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. I've gone from somebody who said, I don't like it, I don't want anything to do with it, to the point where I probably use AI every day that I'm working in front of my computer. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Okay.
mean, it really does help with some things. And that's what we're going to talk about today, too.
Yes, we are. So as we move into talking about AI today, I thought it would be interesting to get a definition and to get that definition from AI. So I went to a platform called Perplexity, one of the platforms that I use, and the prompt that I gave it was to give me a definition of what it was. So basically, it was giving me its own self-definition. And this is what it said. AI is the development of computer systems that are capable of performing tasks that typically require human intelligence, such as learning, problem solving, decision making, and even creative expression. So, yeah.
Of course. It's, promoting itself.
Yes, yes. And when we're speaking throughout today's presentation, we wanted to look at AI from a very broad range or very wide range, and just to help you understand the context of what we're talking about today, we're focusing on generative AI, which is a particular type of AI. We're not going to be talking about the other types or applications, which you can see listed here. But when we get to the end of the presentation in our resources section, there is slides that define each of these, so you can take snapshots. But just just to make it clear, AI is a very, very broad subject, and we are only going to talk about the generative, which is where it produces text or produces images
Mm.
based prompts. And Marie, do you want to talk about some of the other industries that are going to be greatly impacted
You
by?
know, oh my goodness. In addition to the astrology industry, there is, people who do design, people who design the images because AI is getting really proficient in designing images. People who do editing will be impacted. And it's hard to even envision an industry that won't be impacted. Even the accounting industry. I had a conversation with my accountant the other day, and I was asking him about AI and how it was impacting him. And he, of course, is embracing AI for his business because he does planning for estate planning and he's fully booked uh, with clients. He's not able to take on any more clients because he, the workload is just so great. But what he said was with AI, it will help his team members be more efficient and take some of the tasks that they have off of their plate. Now, of course, they still have to verify information and verify that everything is correct. But because of that, he will be able to take on new clients. And so, as an accountant, he's not concerned. He does say, however, if you're an accountant and you're just doing accounting, then maybe you need to be concerned and start coming up with some other ideas. But all industries are going to be affected by this. And if you think, it's just like the quote, if you think that you're going to be able to just continue doing business the way you have, it's just not going to happen. You'll end up being a dinosaur. And that you don't want because this is your livelihood. And so you want to find, of course, ways that this is going to work for you. But yeah, thanks.
Yeah, I've read really large statistics. 70%, 75% of all jobs will be impacted by AI. When you see statistics like that, it's really scary.
Mhm.
However, we don't know exactly how it's going to play out. We just know that if you embrace AI into whatever you're doing, or you bring it in to help you with efficiency, productivity, then you will likely be keeping up pace with your competitors. If you're not, you're probably going to find yourself squeezed out.
Mhm.
And of course, we want to focus on astrology. We just wanted to bring in recognize, give tribute to the fact that there are much greater impacts that are going to happen in the world. Like we know we're going to see transformation in healthcare. We're already seeing that. And the things that are coming out of AI oriented algorithms, healthcare, scientific research, transportation, finance, insurance, like what you were talking about, IT, retail, all of these industries, we expect huge transformation. Of course, Pluto just went into Aquarius,
Yeah.
and we have Jupiter conjuncting Uranus right now. We have a link in our resources. Chris Brennan and the Astrology podcast, they went into a lot of detail about the astrology, where we're going to talk about this subject coming from the perspective of your business in astrology. And we're going to share information that's going to be more related to doing business. And hopefully the podcast that Chris did and the one we're doing today will be complementary and help really paint a good picture for you and for your
Yep.
business. So as I
Generative
mentioned,
AI, I love it.
yeah, this is what we're focusing on. So there are other types of AI. We're not talking about those. We're talking about generative and the definition. This one did not come from AI. This is actually sourced from the link you can see on there. And generative Generative AI is a subset of AI that focuses on teaching machines to produce original and creative content. Here's some interesting statistics for you. And as you're hearing about this, think about your clients. Who are your clients? Who do you see right now?
Oh, and those statistics are, it's to me, it's correct because when I talk to people who, of different generations, they have different viewpoints about AI. Now, I have found a couple of Gen Zs who are concerned about AI, but the Gen Zs who are concerned, oddly enough, are more introverted. It's weird that way, and I'm not sure why that is. But yeah, you also get your baby boomers. I think a certain percentage of them who are not pro AI, and I of course believe that you have to do more of a hybrid with it. But then again, that's my generation. So,
Mhm.
yeah,
Right. Yeah. I think we'll be the last generation that can really practice without AI as this menacing thing that could come in and take away our business. But
yeah.
these machines are only going to get more and more intelligent. Right now, they don't synthesize charts the way astrologers can, but it can certainly produce information, as in, like, what is a planet in a house? What does that mean? Right
Mm-hmm.
now, I can give you a really good definition of that. I can give you good information. So we're not quite there yet where it's ready to take over our jobs. But for the next generation, that is a real threat that's coming in. And I know people are worried about it. And we are going to talk about it today. We'll be talking about it intermittently as we go through today's
Mm-hmm.
presentation. And
Absolutely.
yeah, I think that when you're young, if you're young and you're just starting out your astrology practice, you really do have to think about how you're going to evolve with AI.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you're at an age or a place in your life and you're thinking about retirement in the next 5 to 10 years, it's a bit of a different type of strategy when you're thinking about long term for your business. And we know that AI is not going away. We know that it's constantly learning, and we know that there's going to be an impact. But there's also the wild card of human beings, and we still don't know exactly how that's going to play out. But what we are hoping that you get out of this video today is to take an active part in what that looks like, and not be a bystander, but actually
Yeah,
part and have a voice in how you want that to look.
absolutely. I can remember, of course, when the internet first came out. And I know that there were a lot of people who were adverse and didn't get on board. Where I'm going with this is I have a particular friend who never really got into it. And I talked to her, I must have been 10 years ago, and she felt as though she had been left behind. She didn't know, there were basics that she didn't know. And because with AI, everything is moving so fast, if you can at least dip your toe in, it's going to be easier than trying to do it a year from now or 2 years from now, because trying to catch up, trying to figure out what's going on is going to be much steeper learning curve. And so, yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's talk a little bit about something that is more dry and legal, but needs to be covered nevertheless. That is AI and copyright law. What we want you to know, there's two slides, so we'll cover both of them, but there's two things on this slide that we wanted to mention. First, 100% AI generated content is not eligible for copyright. If you go and create something and that creation you try to copyright, without any alteration, it's unlikely that you will get the copyright on that.
Mm-hmm.
However, if you alter that AI material, then it may be eligible for copyright, keyword being may. And I don't know exactly how much. I haven't seen a percent of how much has to be altered, but it's important that you know that.
It is. And one thing that I want to add to that is think about your creativity. Do you really want to copyright something that is 100% generated by AI? Hasn't that taken out your creativity? Don't you want to put your stamp on whatever it is you are copywriting so that you can feel good about yourself? That's my view on it. So definitely.
Absolutely. I agree with you. Yeah. And then the fair use doctrine comes into play. This is the one I think a lot of people find fear. I know that I do. When I read this and I think about the blogs that I make or videos like this that we make, there's a fair use doctrine that says that AI could take this material and learn from it without having to get our permission. This is still in effect right now. However, it's important to know that the laws are regularly changing, and you've probably heard about governments and their committees working on how to regulate this, and it's evolving. Though it may be hard to stay up to date on these things, it's just knowing that there are governments and they're all working on the copyright issue, and that if you create something and put it out there, there is a possibility that AI could learn from it. But on the flip side, it's likely that AI is going to have to cite their source. And there's already one platform that does that. I think we're going to see more and more of that coming up, but it's all up in the air. So there's a lot of things where there's not answers on right now.
Absolutely. And, as the consumer, you and I and all of us have way more power than we think we have, which means contact your representatives, the people who represent you in your community. Contact them and let them know your views. And because remember, they are also listening to the public when they're creating these laws. So you have more power than you think you have. It puts me in mind of the Broadway show Hamilton, where Hamilton says, I want to be in the room when it happens. Well, don't you want to be in the room when it happens with the law? Make sure that you know what you want and let them know. Let your representatives know.
Absolutely. And if you think that you can't make a difference, there's an example, and I don't have it in front of me, so I can't remember the name of the group, but there is a group of people, and they are designers, like artists. They got together, I think it was out of the University of Chicago, and they created a design application that does something to the code where the AI can't replicate it. And it came out of what has been happening where AI can create an image. It generates an image in the same style as a famous artist. So you could go in and say, create this design with these prompts, a car or a mountain or whatever it is, and use the style of Monet. And it would create something like that. And so they created this platform where it can't read their art, so it can't learn from their art. That was just one way that a group of artists decided to organize and try to protect their own designs.
And there is no reason why in the astrological community we can't do something, maybe not similar, but something to help protect our copyrightable material, from being not necessarily from being used, but so that it has to be cited. And that is where you want to contact your representative for that, because it's, you know, we all are helping our clients in a holistic way. We are looking at them as a whole rather than just little sound bites, which is what AI is doing at the moment. So, yeah.
Yeah. And we have some resources for you at the end of different countries and the link to what they're doing for AI. So if you want to learn more about what the legalities are in your particular country, there are some resources that we have for you at the end. We could speak for hours on that subject alone, but that's kind of dry and boring, and I don't think that's why you're here. We just
Yeah.
wanted to bring up these couple of points because copywriting is really important. A lot of astrologers are creating information that they're writing based on their own proprietary method or their own and their own interpretation, and that brings up the topic of copyright. So this is an ongoing and evolving issue, and you just want to kind of stay on some list. If you're really interested in copyright, I'm sure you can get on some list and keep informed on that. Along these lines, we wanted to talk about something that's probably a bit closer to home for you, and that is YouTube. If you are a creator and you are making videos regularly, then you've probably already seen this. And this is from Marie when she recently uploaded a video. So I'll let you describe your experience.
Oh my goodness, this was one of those shocking things, which was a positive shock. And I was uploading a video for my Ask Coach Marie series, and this pop up, well, it wasn't really a pop up, well, I'm going to call it a pop up, came on the screen, and it says, um, are you using any type of AI to generate, any of these images or this content? And I absolutely loved it because what YouTube is doing is trying to be proactive for their creators. They have said that if you are generating content and you're using AI, you really must let the viewer know that you're doing it. And if you choose not to let them know, YouTube has the right to actually put something on your video saying that this is AI generated, because we all know or we've heard of videos that are being done with people saying things that they didn't say or doing things that they wouldn't do. And the public has no way of knowing whether this is real or not. And so YouTube is doing their best um, to mitigate this issue. It's the same with music. I mean, we know that when you're putting a video out with music, you have to have done your due diligence to pay for that music, or it's going to be kicked off of YouTube. So I love this, and I can't wait to see which other industries or other platforms that start doing this. They were a little bit behind, but in doing this, but I'm really happy because my work is my work, and I don't want people even thinking that it's AI generated.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm pretty happy about it too. And this is very recent, within the last few weeks.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And yeah, it definitely is because I didn't see it last month
Right.
when I was uploading videos. So it's within the past 3 weeks for sure.
Me too. I think the last time I uploaded a video was, well, just a few days ago I saw it. And when I did it about 2.5, 3 weeks ago, it wasn't there. So
Hmm.
it's really new. There is a policy. There is a link to that down at the bottom of the slide if you want to look at it. But I've pulled out most of the material from the YouTube policy and put it here so we could share that with you. This text is directly from the Google site with the YouTube policy. And it just gives you a little more information. You can read it. You can take a snapshot if you would like.
Hmm.
They
Oh,
don't
yeah.
ask you to disclose, to, to say yes to everything. This is what they're looking for. You can see here what's important to them. Makes a real person appear to say or do something they didn't do, alters footage of a real event or place, or generates a realistic looking scene that didn't actually occur.
Yeah. And this is where, the public is so vital. If you're working with a company, contact them and ask them what they're doing to protect your material. And because maybe they're floundering, maybe they don't know what to do, or maybe they need input. So don't just assume that the company or app owners know what to do. Tell them what you want. I had never even thought about that until I saw YouTube. I was like, oh, okay. I have more power than I think. I think I'll be contacting some of the other companies that I work with on the internet.
Yeah. If this goes on to say, this is continuing the google.com, the policy for YouTube, they actually give some examples of what is required and what isn't required. So you can see, like, where do you fall? They don't require a creator to disclose if they're applying a beauty filter or synthetically generating or extending a backdrop to simulate a moving car. So it's kind of like taking what's already there and just making it last a little bit longer, I guess, or
Mm-hmm.
using effects to enhance a previously recorded audio, or using an AI generated animation of a missile in a video. Animation must be the key part there.
Yeah. Oh, I
Yeah.
can imagine.
Yeah. And then you can see on the right side what is required.
That's
And then
another industry that is being affected greatly.
what's that?
The
What?
a the the animation industry is
Yeah.
another industry that is being greatly affected by AI.
Oh, right.
It's
Right.
huge.
Animators.
Hmm. Including actors, of which I'm a
Mm-hmm.
member of the Screen Actors Guild. And by the way, just, I'm going to give you this point again. As a member of the Screen Actors Guild, we went on strike last year because of what the corporations wanted to do with AI and our voices and our likeness. And they can't do that anymore, not without our okay and our permission and being paid. So, yeah.
Right, right. It's really going to come down to policy and regulation as to how far it can go. It's almost like you have the people who want to make the money from AI, and then you have the people who their livelihood is being taken away from them. Uh, it's a mess. It's like, I don't know how this is all going to get untangled, but I know people are working on it. And like Marie keeps saying, we want to have a voice in it. And wherever you can extend your voice and help in that conversation, I think we all want to do that. We want to preserve our profession and use AI as a means to help us make things more efficient and productive, but not to
Mm-hmm.
completely replace us. And I know that lots of different jobs have they're facing the same situation.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And you can take a snapshot of this page as well. This is also from YouTube. It's from the same policy. I just think that this is very important because I know a lot of astrologers make YouTube videos, and to just be aware of this disclosure that's being required, because you will have to answer this question. Every time you upload a video, this is now that new set of questions, and they are going to ask you. Now, I thought this was interesting because I didn't realize this until I was reading the policy. Right now, and of course, this is going to evolve, so this won't stay static. So remember when you're watching this, because at some point it's going to change. But what they're saying is right now, this disclosure is, or the label, I should say, if it's labeled that it's has AI content or altered content, that label is only going to show up on a mobile device or tablet for now. I imagine that the only reason it's not on computers is because they just don't have the technology ready to launch yet. But as soon as they do, they will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was amazed when I learned that. It's like, wow. Okay. And fortunately, most people are looking at YouTube. Well, a lot of people look at YouTube on their phone, but you can always double check if you're looking at something on your computer or your TV. Go to that particular video on your phone just to check.
Yep. I know our statistics at Kepler, it's around 55% of the people who watch our videos are watching from a mobile phone. And I imagine that's why YouTube focus on cell
Mhm.
phones first or smartphones first.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I thought this was interesting as well, where it says that disclosing your content as altered or synthetic won't limit your audience or impact your ability to earn money, your eligibility to earn money. So they really want you to disclose, and it's
Right.
not going to hurt you if you disclose, but it could hurt you if you don't disclose.
Oh, it sure can.
Yes, and this is what it says. You can read below. This is again a quote. I didn't put quote marks on. I apologize for forgetting the quote marks, but these are direct quotes from the policy of YouTube, which is of course part of Google, and that's why it's on google.com.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you don't want to be suspended
No,
from YouTube, especially if you're an astrologer doing YouTube videos.
right, right. Okay, so you've been informed.
And by the way, just, to let you guys know, what Lori and I are doing is giving you information that we know now. And of course, this information can change in the future. And we're also, we jumped in, of course, looking at AI and starting to use it and all that. It um, it doesn't mean that we are experts in AI. We may be experts compared to somebody who doesn't know anything, but we are certainly not experts in AI. And we don't want you to even think that we are. We're giving you information that we have gleaned so far.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. I
Mm-hmm.
think, yeah, both of us have spent a lot of time using it, and we want to share what we know and hopefully help speed up the process of getting information to you. If you haven't researched it, or you are an astrologer and you're wanting to incorporate it in your business or understanding how it might impact your business, I think this video will help you. And we will be demonstrating some sites as well.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of, the most important thing when you're using AI is your prompts, and we will demonstrate that. Why are they important? Because you're getting back from AI an answer to a prompt. So if your prompt is vague, you're going to get a vague answer. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes if your prompt is specific, you still get a vague answer, or you get
Mm-hmm.
an answer that's off. And you have to continue the conversation with AI in order to get it to reflect back the information that you're actually seeking.
Which can be a big pain in the butt. trying
It
to
can.
trying to do that. Oh my goodness. But yeah, you're right.
Yeah. And you'll find sometimes that AI is the first place you want to go. I like AI because I can go there, I can ask it a question, it gives me an answer. And sometimes it gives me the exact answer that I'm looking for. And I think, wow, that was so much faster than having to sift through a bunch of pages that Google is going to serve up to me. But then there's other times I'll use AI, and no matter how I ask it, no matter how long the conversation is, I just can't get it to give back to me what it is I'm really looking for. And then I have to go over and do an internet search. So right now we still have both options, and they're somewhat competitive. Like there's a platform that we're going to show you called Perplexity, the one that gave us the self-definition. And that one is in direct competition with Google because it's actually sourcing the material that it's giving to you. And I will show you, but it'll give you a result and it'll have like a 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you look and you see the sources 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you want to know where it's getting that information, it will tell you. This can be very important for us as astrologers because we want to be sourced. If
Yeah.
you're writing the material and it's pulling the answer from your material, you want it to give you that credit. So that is one positive way that AI could be going, where it can give you the information directly from your question and not a bunch of search results, but still sourcing its information. I think
Yeah.
that's a positive direction.
Oh, it definitely is. And having it be faster, that is so beneficial because with the internet searches, we end up having to just keep going and going to look for the information, going page after page or site after site. And so AI just pops it on the screen right away, but it does need to be sourced. Excuse me.
Yeah. Yep. We're talking about what works well with AI or what AI does well. And I'll tell you the things that I think it does well and what I use it for. For me, it's great for drafting starter text, for giving a title for anything, whether it's a blog, a subject line for an email, or a title of a program, things like that. A hook, kind of like that magnetic
Mm-hmm.
words that draw people into your service. Headers, like each paragraph having its own header, because these days, oftentimes people scan rather than actually reading an entire
Mm-hmm.
blog. So it can help you design those headers. It can write emails and it can rewrite your text for your ideal client if you give it enough in the prompt for it to understand who that ideal client is.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it's all about the prompts. I'm going to say that a lot because if you want AI to really work for you, you have to have a really good prompt to get back out of it what you want.
Oh, absolutely. I
What do
know
you use?
I love using it for brainstorming. If I'm thinking of, oh my goodness, I need to, because I do virtual healing retreats. I wonder what would be a good virtual healing retreat right now. I wonder what are people interested in? I can do a prompt to ask what people are interested in, and I can, it's like having a non-biased person there giving you information based on what you're asking. And so for me, like I said, I use it mostly I'll use it for editing. I'll use it, I've said this sentence or I've created this document. Is it understandable by this type of person? And that really, that has been a game changer.
Yeah. Yeah. Another thing that I use it for, I wonder if you do too. I can be windy when I write. I'll write too much. And people don't want so much text. They want it to be easy to
Mhm.
read and quick. So I'll take a paragraph or two paragraphs and I'll put it in AI and I'll ask it to make it shorter, more concise. It does a really good job,
Yeah.
but sometimes it completely changes the brand voice and it throws in all these fluffy words. So that I have to watch out for. That is on the other page that says what it does poorly, but it does do that pretty well. And even if it shortens my paragraph and I don't really like it, I can ask it to do it again and again and again. And unlike a person, it's not going to get annoyed with me.
Right.
It just keeps serving it up. I just have to keep refining what I want. And oftentimes it gets there. Sometimes it doesn't, but it usually at least gives me something. It pushes me in the right direction. So it's almost always a hybrid for me.
Oh, absolutely. I know I will. What I do find with using AI is it can take your voice away, just as you're saying. Fed something, a document into it that I created, and I asked it to make this document dynamic and for this particular audience and blah blah blah. And when I read it, it was technically correct when I read what it said, but it's like, wait a minute, that's not how I speak. And so I had to take what AI said and reword it. There were some things I had left out of my document that AI picked up on and elaborated on. It's like, oh, okay, but I still put it in my voice because your audience knows your voice and how you read. I've had people say, oh, I know this came from you, even if your name isn't on it, because this is how you write and this is your writing voice. So you do have to be careful with that. But yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it works really, really well to help you. And as long as you don't rely on it 100%, like taking
Mhm.
its results and just using it exactly the way it wrote, that's when you can get into trouble. But whenever you use it as a consultant, just to
Mhm.
get you started, I can't tell you how many times I wanted starter text. It was just easier for me to take that starter text and then draft it or edit
Mhm.
it from there. Things that I knew that I could just write off the top of my head. For example, one time I wanted to have just like a quick description of the modalities and the elements. And I've probably written that 50 times somewhere else, but I just wanted it really quick. I knew what the right answer was. I just wanted it to be generated for me. And so I asked it, it gave it to me, boom,
Mhm.
copied, pasted it, edited it with my voice, what I really wanted to say, but it just had that starter text already
Yeah.
laid out. And it was more about saving time. It was more about getting me there faster than it was having it produce something that I didn't already know. Because another thing that can get you into danger, that if you're asking AI to generate text for you, that it does really well, but maybe not as accurate or in your brand voice as you want it to be, if you don't know what the right answer actually is, and if you don't
Oh,
have a brand voice yet, you're still getting text that isn't what your end product should be, or your end draft, your final draft. It's not really there yet.
oh, absolutely. It can make stuff up. So you you have to be careful with that. I am in the process of redoing my website, and so I was looking at my bio, and I thought, huh, I wonder what AI will do with my bio. So I copied and pasted my entire bio into AI and said, hey, I'm update this and make it for this particular type of audience. Oh my goodness, it was awesome. As a matter of fact, it trolled the internet for information. And I know it did this because it put it in my bio, information in my bio that I didn't have in there, but I knew it was correct. I mean, it's like, wow, how did you know I did that? Because I hadn't updated my bio in years. But anyway, it was, if you're up, if you're updating bios, if you're even creating bios, create it yourself first, and then feed
Mm-hmm.
it to AI and see what it comes up with for you.
Oh, thank you for saying that. I think I've had the most luck doing it that way. Like a prompt is really good, but even better if you can take a prompt and then give it a first
Mm-hmm.
draft. Say,
Mm-hmm.
use this as the starter and then see what it comes up with, because then you're giving it a lot more information to
Mm-hmm.
go with.
Absolutely. So you don't give away your personal power. And I got to say, if you create your document first and feed it into AI, you can help that really helps to bolster your personal power. You can start to become insecure about creating. if you just go to AI and have AI do the creating for you and you use that, you take away your personal power and you also take away your authenticity, which comes across in life, in your life. And you do not want that. You definitely don't. So, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. All right. A couple of the other things we wanted to mention was that AI is really good at analyzing large data sets, spotting patterns, and refining predictions. What is it that astrologers do? Sounds a lot like us. And I just think it's important to be aware of that because if you're an astrologer who wants to focus on research, you want to write a book, or maybe you want to be a research astrologer and not even see clients, this could help make your job a lot faster and easier, right? There's the other side, the fear that it's going to take over our jobs. But then there's a very positive side of the ability for AI to be able to handle this large amount of data. And that is, it can help us get there faster with research.
Yeah.
So that is, and we know that it's constantly evolving and learning. I don't believe that it's actually sentient yet, whereas it has its own emotional state, I guess. I was just reading an article about that before we started recording. But the thing is, it's coming. Like at some point, they think that the artificial intelligence will have some level of sentience. And that is even another discussion about having two sentient kind of species on Earth. So I won't go off that far because who
Yeah.
knows how that's going to evolve. But just thinking about what does AI do well? For right now, it can help you with time management. It can help you get there faster.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It sure can. And yeah, it's just like we all know we're moving into this Aquarian age. Whether it has started like some astrologers believe or it's coming 100 years from now, we are definitely on that trajectory. And we're having to deal with changing faster than a lot of us actually want to change. And we're being pulled, some kicking and screaming. And I, I like having control. And so I want to know what AI can do and do well and not do well at this point so that I can have choice. And that's why we're doing this video for you so that you can make an educated decision.
Yes. Yes. And then images.
Ah, yeah.
Images is another one that falls on both lists. It falls on something that AI can do well, but it also falls on the side of what it does poorly.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that we have some images to demonstrate for you so you can see that in action. Was there anything else you wanted to talk about for what AI does well before we move on?
I think we have exhausted that list for now. I mean, if something comes up later, with my Gemini mind, it might. I mean, I'll mention it, but at this point, no, we're good.
Okay. So now we wanted to touch on some of the things that AI does poorly. Misinformation and bias. It's pretty well known that there is some bias built in to the AI models right now based on the learning that it has taken in. There is one site that I found, and it's an AI platform that actually is designed. It's a response to the bias that's been built in. It's called Latimer,
Mm,
Latimer. We'll show you in a little bit. And that was designed so that the focus was on the Black community. And also they talk about in the future becoming more and more respectful to any of the minority communities. So we'll see we'll show you that, but just so you know that there is a platform that's come out. But most of the other ones, there is some misinformation and bias when it comes to culture and tradition. So you do want to be aware of that. Did you want to add anything to that, Maureen?
No, it's, when we were doing the research and, we went to Latimer and, fed it some questions, and it was fascinating the the answers. And I like it for now. I don't know as I explore it, whether I will use it a lot. But if you're doing research, I think that this is a good platform. If you're marketing, if you're marketing to a particular group, what does that group like? This is a good place to go. It may give you an edge, in that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The next thing on the list, AI gets it wrong often. And this is why it's so important that you don't rely on AI for your source information if you don't know the right answer, because it could give you something very wrong. And I put EG time conversion as an example because it happened to me where I asked about a time zone, like two different locations, and what it gave me was wrong. And I knew it was wrong. I had done the calculation in my head and I was looking for a confirmation that I was right, and it was telling me that I was wrong. And what was going on was the time change in Europe, daylight savings, and the time and the date in the United States, they're not the same date. And somehow the AI had not learned that, and it was giving me incorrect information. And when I told that, I responded and I said, "You're wrong." And of course, I'm sorry. They are very nice in the AI community. They apologize and usually take responsibility. Sorry, I was wrong with that. And then it corrected itself because it realized that it was wrong, and it validated when I said it was wrong, and then it gave me the right information. If I didn't know to push back, I would have put out a time that was wrong out into the community. And that's like kind of a simple thing. It can get much more elaborate in its incorrect responses. One time I did a search. I was researching for my coaching program, and I wanted to see others how they ran their coaching program, which is normal, right? When you're going to do something, you like to look and see what other people are doing. It generated a list for me of, I want to say, around 20 websites for me to look at. So I start looking at them one by one. I go through the whole list, and I want to say 2 of the 20 actually existed. It gave
Mhm.
me a lot of bad information. Now, the websites were real. I could go there. It's just that they didn't offer what it told me they were offering. Like, it even gave me a little bit of information. So I went there to look at that website and that coaching program and found out that that site, that person didn't even offer coaching. Like, it wasn't even a product. So you
Yeah.
really have to be careful. You really have to check if you're getting information from AI and you don't know if it's right or if it's wrong, and you take it at face value, you really run the risk of your reputation because you could put some really incorrect information out there.
Oh, absolutely. I know a friend of mine who's a microbiologist fed a prompt into AI for our wine country speakers group. We wanted, anyway, it's similar to table topics in Toastmasters. So he fed the prompt in and he asked AI, what, what's out here that has XYZ in the microbiology world, because that's where he is. AI fed him something that was so real. He said he had to go on a deep dive onto the internet Took him 3 hours to figure out that AI had given him bogus information. And when he read it to us, he read the information that AI had given him, this long diatribe. We thought it was real because we're not microbiologists. He is. We trust him. And in the end, he said, "This is all not real." Wow. AI wants to please. It's going to give you something.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's generative AI. It might just generate it out of the blue.
It created a new species, let me tell you, in microbiology.
Yeah. Well, I think this is why Perplexity is giving Google a run for its money and really forcing these other platforms to shape up, because Perplexity is giving its source website information. So if you don't think that what is being presented to you is correct, you can at least go to the source website and be like, oh yeah, this is not a site that I want to do a citation from anyway. This isn't a well-known company. Or
Mhm.
like sometimes I would get links to websites as the source material, but they were like an app site, like where they were trying to sell their app. I
Yeah.
wouldn't want to cite their statistics. I want to cite the source that researched and came up with those statistics.
Mhm.
And I would question it, like, why are you sourcing this site instead of the actual producer of the report? And sometimes it will find it and be like, oh, I'm sorry, here's, the correct way. But then other times it's like it can't find it. So it's really important that you have some knowledge about what you're searching for, or you could get it wrong. And I'll give one more example. This is from the astrology podcast. I just listened to it as preparation for us doing ours. And there was, I think it was Jupiter, said something like Jupiter was in Scorpio for this time period. And Chris was like, well, it wasn't. Like he knew that it wasn't. So he's like, I know this is incorrect. If you don't know that it's incorrect and you do a search for a planet transiting in a particular sign, and it gives you that, Jupiter is in this sign on this date, you want to check it
Yeah.
because it may or may not be correct information.
And it's going to go to your credibility,
Mm-hmm.
if you put that out there. So you double check everything that you get from AI, unless you fed in a document or something, and it's going to enhance it or that sort of thing. But yeah.
Yeah. Another thing that I don't think it does well is it doesn't really go deep. Of course, that is related to the prompt. So you could get it to go deep depending on how you structure your prompts. And if you give it the whole body of text, you're not really looking for it to go deep. You're looking for it to edit your text.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're looking for a 25-page report on an astrology chart, it's not quite there yet. Knowing that, just be aware that oftentimes the answers are more short and concise. They're not
Mm-hmm.
long, although sometimes they're just full of fluffy language. And that's another thing that's on this list. Something that drives me crazy is I see it throwing in all those adjectives, trying to be a copyright material, and uses things like cosmic and celestial. And it's like, no, I'm a professional astrologer. I don't really want to use all these fluffy words. That's not
Mm-hmm.
my brand voice anyway. And I'll prompt it and I'll tell it to take it out. And it doesn't even understand, like it just can't help itself. So I have to rewrite that text. And I think that's a good idea to do it anyway. But I think if you see it do that, and you might like it, like the first couple of times you use it, if you're new to AI and you're like, oh my gosh, that sounds so cool and cosmic, and it might read well, but you have to know that it's serving up that same language to a lot of people. And if you
Yeah.
don't edit it and put your brand voice in it, that fluffy language is just going to sound like anybody else who's using AI. It's not going to set you apart. And Marie and I have been talking about this, like we think that one of the ways to work with AI in your practice is to have your niche, have
Mhm.
something that sets you apart. And then the language comes with that, and not relying on this fluffy language stuff that can come
Mhm.
out of AI and make it sound like you know what you're talking about. But if you don't actually know what you're talking about, that can really get you into trouble.
Oh, absolutely. I do know that there are some astrologers who write their reports for clients. And I've not done this because I don't write reports. But if you do, you might want to write your report the way you normally do, and then feed that document into an AI platform to see if it shifts it any, to see if it makes it more readable or add something to it. But you write the document first and then check it with AI to see if it can help you with that. It may not be able to, um, because each of us reads. We have a different level of comprehension, different level of understanding, and as an astrologer, we are only as good as the information that we give, and that information can only be ingested by the client based on their um, ability to integrate what it is you're saying. And so when you're writing something, you're writing it from your language, your vantage point, but does the client or will the client understand what you're saying? So that's just something I'm going to throw out there to you. It's something I haven't done because I don't write reports, but maybe you do and want to, want a little bit of help with that.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm thinking about also like web pages, some of the pages that you may have on your site for different services, or a
Mm-hmm.
landing page for a program. Write it first and then put it in AI and see if it produces something that you like even better.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I've noticed that sometimes it can give me ideas that I hadn't thought of that I really like. And other times it'll rewrite the whole thing in a layout that I don't like. Like it
Mm-hmm.
might rearrange my paragraphs or restate my paragraphs in a way that I don't like it better. And if that happens to you, what I recommend is that you break it down. So if you put the whole thing in and then you get a whole thing out and it's kind of a mess, sometimes it will do that. Sometimes it'll do it perfectly where you're just like, I love this. And other times you'll get the result and you'll be like, there's parts of this that I like, but it's so chopped up and moved around. I don't like the flow, or I like this paragraph and I don't like that. It becomes a mess, and it will cost you more time to cross-reference it than it would have been if you do it in a different way. So this is what I recommend if you run into that situation. Break it down paragraph by paragraph. That will
Mm.
usually resolve that issue and will be faster and easier than you trying to move stuff around. Because it's actually happened to me where it's taken me hours when it was supposed to make it faster, and it made it slower because some of the stuff I liked, some of the stuff I didn't like, but it changed the flow, and I wanted to keep the flow. And you can just imagine this back and forth, and trying to pull little pieces out. So what I did instead was I would take the paragraph by paragraph and then just have it work on that one paragraph at a time. And I've had to do that a couple of times, but it worked really well in getting through the whole page rather than trying to have it just keep doing the page over and over.
Mm-hmm.
And it depends on the platform too. You'll see when we do the demonstration that even though they're all AI, they don't give you the same responses. So that's another thing, is because not all of them respond in a way that you're going to like. Sometimes AI gives you poor results, but you might go from Chat GPT to Perplexity and find that you like Perplexity's response, or
Mm-hmm.
you may not like either one and you decide to go over and try Gemini, formerly known as Bard. So there's different ones, and you can even do multiple and see which one works for you. Yeah. The
Perfect.
last thing,
Perfect.
yeah, the last thing on this list is images. So it was on the list of what it does well, and it's on the list of what it does poorly.
Oh my goodness. And it doesn't do voices very well either.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I hate the AI voices, but
And there's a lot of
that's
them, right? Like
there are.
so many. You can actually have a whole presentation done for you by an avatar that's actually, it looks like a human being. You can pick
Mhm.
your person, and sometimes you can pick your accent. Like there's just so much that you can do with AI.
Oh, it is. But you can tell that it's AI
Hmm.
when you're listening to it because the pronunciation of words,
Hmm. Yeah.
sometimes it's
Well,
not
and
there.
right. And we're astrologers, and I think most people in our industry want to see us. Like if we're the brand and we're the practitioner, we're providing the services. If we're doing a video, or we're showing up live like we are today, or showing up on video like we are today, they want to see us. They don't want to see some fake person with a fake
Absolutely.
voice. Yeah.
And that is actually a selling point too, with do you want a live person uh, talking to you and giving you your reading, or do you want it to be AI, you know,
Hmm. Yep. Or a hybrid.
or hybrid? Yeah.
Yeah. So images, you can get really cool images, like really cool images. I've been impressed, but they tend to not be useful. And I'll show you. I kept a bunch of images that I had it produce for astrology, and I'll show you why not one of them can be used, even though they're absolutely gorgeous. So we'll get there. The demonstration really is coming. This is that website that I was mentioning earlier. Latimer. I don't know if it's Latimer or Latimer, but I did want to highlight them because it's nice to see that a group of people actually wanted to address the bias that we know is built into AI. This is some information. There is a link to HubSpot where I learned about Latimer. You can read that blog, and then there's a link to the actual app down there. So you can grab a snapshot if you like. There's one other thing we wanted to talk about before we got into the demonstration, and that is talking about the the difference between AI and regular internet search. And then, of course, SEO is internet search. So if you're wondering what the difference is, or if you're wondering why are they even related, it's about how people are getting information from the internet. Generative AI is actually creating information that may or may not exist on the internet, because the way that it's learning is from different ways. It can be books, it can be data directly entered into the AI platform, and then internet. So what generative AI is doing is it's accepting your prompt, and then it's searching its gigantic library of information, and it's serving up the answer that it can best form to your prompt. An internet search using SEO, which stands for search engine optimization, is trying to locate web pages that most relate to the question or the search that you're making, the words that you put into that search. So Google, which is, I want to say over 90% of the organic searches are done on the Google platform. You go in there, you type Jupiter in Taurus, and it's going to go out and search internet pages that are search engine optimized, find those pages, and then serve up a list of those pages ranked in order of what they think is going to best serve your needs. People who are good at SEO, people who have a lot of traffic, there's an algorithm. I'm not going to claim to know the entire algorithm off of the top of my head, but that's how it's deciding what to serve to you. And we know that Google sells advertisements, and you're going to see those sponsored ads come up to the top.
Mhm.
If you're in an AI platform, you're asked the question, it gives you one answer where it gives you whatever you're asking for. It's not serving up to you a bunch of pages that you have to click on and go look at each page and come back and go look, come back. It's just going to give you the answer. And if you look on Perplexity right now, it will give you the sources of the web pages that it's drawing from. But at this point, you don't have that on Bing or ChatGPT, although you can ask it to give you the sources. It's not just automatically giving them to you, and it's not bringing up web pages. It's not ranking web pages, and it has nothing to do with search engine optimization. So hopefully that explains the difference. There was talk, I would say about 6 months ago when I was doing my research, people were talking about how AI could replace internet search. Recently, when I was doing my research, that conversation has evolved, and now it's more about how do you stay relevant and get AI to find you, which is more similar to internet search right now. It's evolving. We don't really know how it's going to work. Of course, Google's a very large company, and they are not going to want their internet search to become irrelevant. And of course, they have their own AI platform, which we're going to look at today. So it's just thinking about this is important for astrologers because most of you have a website, and each of those pages on your website hopefully have some amount of search engine optimization. So if people are searching for you or searching for something that you write about, that the search engine will find you and serve up your information. But we
That's
already know, right?
Now go
Sorry.
ahead.
Yeah.
No.
Just to kind of round off the conversation, we already know that search engine results completely phase out the little guy. You know who's getting the front page results, unless you haven't done a internet research recently, or an internet search recently. I'll tell you who shows up. The Elle, Cosmopolitan. I can't think of the other magazines, but they seem to have taken over the front page of results.
Yeah. Even for astrology.
I'm talking about astrology.
Yeah.
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 Like
Yeah.
5 years ago, you would see astrologers coming up first. People
Hmm.
that they would. That's not the case anymore. So
Yeah.
it's interesting.
It is. And that's where I believe the niche is so important. I can't stress that enough. You must know what type of astrologer you are and who your audience is, and focus your everything that you do on that particular market. And because when you're looking at an Elle or a Cosmopolitan, they're not niching. They're just out there giving actually basic astrology information. And yes, that serves the public, but not in a specific, narrower market. So,
Yeah. Yep. Well, they're doing pop astrology, but
mhm,
they're commercializing the important things that happen, like a Mercury retrograde, which I
mhm,
know some astrologers may not think that that's so important, but it's become commercial and pop.
yeah,
And that's for many people a way of entering astrology. They keep hearing about this Mercury retrograde thing. They talk about it on the radio. People are talking about it. The solar eclipse, my gosh, everyone in the United States is talking
mhm,
about it because it's happening there. So then people want to know more. And who's writing articles on those things? These magazines or
right.
people who are banking on the commercialization of astrology, which on one hand is good because it keeps us prominent as something that we want people to be interested in, but the commercialization of it also gives this false sense of surface
Mhm,
level
right.
astrology, which is so much more complex. And people don't even get that. I think it takes a while before it's like, oh, I have to go way deeper than that. people will talk about Mercury retrograde and not even know that their moon is in a sign. They like the concept that
Right.
every planet is in its own sign and you have a whole chart. They haven't even gotten there yet. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I am of the opinion that, there has to be a way to, because, the L's, the cosmopolitans, they're not going away. They're going to keep doing what they're doing. How do you, I believe it's important to stay informed about what they're writing about. And maybe, you come up with a rebuttal but where I'm going with this is using their information or the information that they're putting out there to inform you and to inform your specific niche. So this is where it's important, I think, to not only stay informed, but not operate on fear. But hey, they've got a huge audience. Hey, you write something to that audience and in your niche, but that's that's the way I
Mhm.
do it.
Yeah, and I think you're so right with the niche thing. That is how you can be found through internet search and hopefully through AI as a source. If not that many people are writing about what you're writing about, you'll have a much better chance of being found than if you're
Mm-hmm.
writing about the exact same thing, but you're not differentiating yourself. So like what
Right.
you're saying, Marie, is like if you're going to write about something that people are searching for, write it about it in a different way
Mm-hmm.
so that maybe you can come up on the search
Mm-hmm.
results.
Absolutely. And that's means staying informed.
Mhm.
And we can all stay informed because we have the internet available and we have AI. You can ask AI that question.
Yeah.
What's popular now in the astrological community, or what are people looking for? Or there's all sorts of prompts that you can give AI related to this.
Yes. These are the different sites that we wanted to share with you today. So we're going to look at quite a few. We're going to start with a platform called Namelix, and it's a real simple platform, but it's really fun. We're going to show you that one. And then we have Latimer, which we've already mentioned. Then ChatGPT, the famous one, where it all started. OpenAI is the company. You've probably heard about OpenAI in the news. It made a lot of news because of lawsuits and booting the CEO and then bringing him back in. That was a whole interesting thing. Then we'll look at Gemini.
Love
Gemini.
that name.
They changed it, right? It was
Yeah,
barred for a
yeah.
while and then they changed it. So I was like, oh, that's interesting. Yeah, that's Google.
It is. They must have a an astrologer on board or something, or somebody who knows astrology.
Yeah, that was a fairly recent. I'd say
Mm-hmm.
maybe around the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember when. Yeah. And then there's Perplexity, which I've mentioned a few times. It is one of my favorites because they source their links. And lastly, well, not lastly, and then there's Bing, which is Microsoft. And then there's Bing and there's Copilot. Both of them are Microsoft and they both have their place. So we'll show you both. There's Hugging Face, which has many different types of AI apps. It's different, and I thought that would be a good one to introduce. And then there's Hugging Face that has many different AI apps, and we thought that would be something different that maybe you haven't heard of yet. So we wanted to show you that one. And then the last two are more about the images. Copilot, which is Microsoft, it has a text component and it has an image component. And then Canva is the last one. Many of you use Canva, so I thought it would be good to bring that up. Many of you use Canva, and we thought that it would be good to bring Canva up because it has a whole Magic Studio, which is all AI, different types of AI apps built into Canva. Marie, anything to add to that before we get started?
No, because that is a wonderful list. And I think once everyone gets to see how this list works, they're going to be experts themselves.
This is the first site that we wanted to share with you today. The website is namelix.com. It's namelix.com. You can see the website address up at the top in the bar if you want to actually use this one. And you have these different options for the response. So this is your prompt. Your first prompt is you have these 8 different choices. I usually choose short phrase. Of course, you can play with this and choose whatever you want, but I like short phrase because it's going to come up with probably 2 or 3 words that have to do with the prompt that I'm going to give it. So I start there. The next part is you'll see across the top 3 things, it's going to take you through them. So I hit next, it goes to randomness. You can choose low, medium, or high randomness. I just stay with medium. And then the last prompt is brand info, and it asks for 2 different things. So first, it's going to ask you for keywords. So I'm going to put moon, and Marie, feel free to shout out some words if you want to
Oh my
throw
goodness.
some.
How about descendant?
Ascendant, and I'm going to say Gemini, and we'll just go with 3.
Right.
And we're going to say that we want a program. I'm just going to leave it at program, or maybe I'll say program course just to give it some more information, and then generate.
I love the glyph, the name.
Yeah. Now, the other thing that this platform does is it gives you some ideas for color and font.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're like just looking for ideas for font, you can look at this and you can get some ideas. It's kind of non-ending. I've scrolled for a long time and I never ever got to the bottom of the page where it didn't keep generating. You can have a lot of fun. Lunar learning.
I love
Fears of
Dusty
Gemini.
Gemini. Dusty Gemini design. How did they
Ooh,
come up with Daughter of Gemini? Sounds like a
that's
horror
just
movie.
it. It's like, who knows? Descendant of the moon. That's kind of cool.
Oh, it
See,
is. Oh, yeah.
moonshine, moonchild.
Oh, that is
Anyway,
so good.
it's we could go on and on. This is so fun to do when you get a combination of words and it's just not so crazy in Gemini. I mean, you just see the funniest things. Look, this is even not even in English. I think that's, is it French? I
Le
don't even
Luna?
know. Rêve du lune. I don't know how to speak French, so I can't do the accents, but you see that it's in different. La lunar
Hmm.
legacy.
But it's nice because you might like one of the words that you see and
Yep.
be able and say, okay, this is a word I want to use. And it's brainstorming, in my opinion. It
Yeah.
helps you with that.
I just think that there's endless ideas if you feel stuck in your
Mm-hmm.
creativity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's the first one that we wanted to share with you. And you can always just go back and re-enter prompts. It says at the top, create new names. So it'll just take you back and you can change things out and you just can keep generating and generating. It's a free website. I find it to be very useful, especially when naming a program. Or if you decide that you want to have a business name that's not your own name, this can help you come up with a name. You ready to move to the next one, Marie?
Yes, 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 yes. It's like one of those TV game shows. Let's bring on.
Now, this is the Latimer that they claim, and I wanted to share with you the conversation and what it said to me. So I did ask it. I asked, what do you specialize in? And you can read what its response was.
Mhm.
And then I asked it to give me some examples of how it addressed the bias. You can read that there. You can take some screenshots if you'd like. And then I asked this question about addressing other minority communities, and it gives the answer there. I asked about the difference between Latin and Latinx, and it gave that.
Mhm.
So you can play with this. Marie and I did a couple of searches just to test it out. And I think
Yeah,
that
we
might,
did. Yeah, we did one. We asked, of course, about hair products, and then we asked about African American astrologers. Oh,
yeah,
yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And the information that it gave was accurate when it came to the hair products. How do I know that? Well, I'm African American and I know what I can use and can't use. And so it was really, it was well, um, it gave a lot of wonderful information. And if you are somebody interested in knowing how to even market to the African American community your services, it's a good place to go.
yeah. Here's one more test for Latimer. This was specifically to test it on actually focusing on the Black community.
Mm-hmm,
So I gave it a very vague prompt. I remember when we typed this in, what are some ideas for celebrating this summer?
mm-hmm.
And I was quite impressed what it came back with.
Yeah, yeah, and also, if you're living in a community that is made up of people who say aren't in your demographics, and you want to learn how to bond or get to know that community, you can always go here and find out what's going on or in the community, you know, to help you with that.
Mhm. Yeah. If you've never seen an AI platform before, they all have a similar concept where you can have different chats. So if you look on the left here, these are the different chats that I've had with it. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't name them. I think you can. I never do.
Yeah, I never
AI,
do either.
right. They just know it just says what it is. It gives a name to it. So you can go back and look at a previous chat and you can pick up the conversation where you left off. So
Mm-hmm.
this is really I think one of the biggest differences from searching on Google or Bing or DuckDuckGo or whatever platform you use or Safari. You're getting a page of results. In AI, you're getting the big part of the screen on the right. You're just getting results to your prompt, and you ask the question, usually down at the bottom like this, and that's where you continue the conversation. So after it responds to your prompt, you can keep talking to it. And the thing that I love the most about AI is that I can talk to it. Imagine if you did a Google search and it gives you this page of all these lists of different websites. If you could just tell it, you didn't give me the results I was looking for because I was actually looking for this. If you could just qualify a little more to Google, maybe it would draw up other web pages and get you what you need. But there is not a two-way conversation in a Google
Mm-hmm.
search. But with AI, it is a two-way. It gives you something, you let it know if it helped you or if it didn't help you and what you actually want it to do. And it can refer back to the whole conversation
Mm-hmm.
above.
And
Sometimes it,
yeah,
go ahead.
yeah, that's actually a really good feature. And I've actually done that where I've gone back weeks later and continued a conversation, um, because maybe something else came up, and it's like, oh yeah, I asked AI about this a while ago. Let me check it out and see if it can refine it in this way. I don't know how many conversations you can save at this point. I'm a little conservative with the conversations that I save. If it's something that's really important and I think I might need to use it in the future, I will save it. If it's not, I'll just delete it because I haven't tested the different systems to see how many you can save.
Yeah. I haven't reached a maximum yet. I did pay for the Chat GPT-4, which either there's Chat GPT-3 or 3.5,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's 4. And if you pay, you supposedly get faster results, or because, if it's really, really busy, the people on the free plan get kind of pushed to the side, and the people who are paying get more chats. But then I asked it, why am I paying you $20 a month? Because it seems like what I'm getting out of you looks exactly the same as when I had the free version. And then I don't remember the exact language, but it kind of said, yeah, you're right. You pretty much aren't getting a whole lot of extra. And I'm like, well, why
But
am I
give me your money anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I think some people may want to support the technology and they want to feel like they're getting more, but I get quite a lot from the free versions. And so I don't have any paid versions, but I haven't hit a maximum. I'm on Latimer. I was worried that I was going to, so you can see I don't have a whole lot of chats,
Mm-hmm.
but I do like this platform. And it does look like the other ones where you're going to have the list of chats on the left. This little guy here, hopefully you can see my cursor, the box with the pencil in it, that
Mm-hmm.
starts a new chat. You can see at the bottom left where I can upgrade and pay and a way to contact them.
I
But I can
love to contact them. That is something that is important,
have,
because you never know what you're helping them
mhm.
when you're asking them questions. And yeah. The
Yeah.
other thing with these, what I found, and I think we have this in the presentation, is with astrology, they're not specific to um, particular types of astrology. And I just said that all incorrectly. The information that they give you isn't specific for, say, a specific type of astrology. It's more generalized, and I found that quite interesting. So,
Yeah, we did that search. It's not on this one because I don't see it. Well, we'll look for
mm-hmm,
that.
mm-hmm.
Would you like to move on to the next platform?
Yes, please do. Open
Okay.
door number 3.
All right. I'm sorry, Cal. We're going to have to take a short break. Of course, I haven't had to log in for months, and the day that I'm demonstrating, I have to log in.
Of
Of
course you do.
course I do. I just cut this right on out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now we're going to demonstrate the very famous Chat GPT. This is 3.5, so I am on the free version. And you can see that the chat is on the left. The new chat button is the same. Where I prompt is in the same place too at the bottom. And the text that comes up after a prompt is above. So it looks very similar to Latimer. And I have done a lot of searches on this one. So we have a lot of things that we can look at. But what you and I were just talking about, Marie, the astrology niche types, that was the search
Mm-hmm.
that we did the other day.
Yes, yes, yes.
I'll go to the top. This was the prompt. What are the different, I'm going to highlight it. What are the different niches or types of astrology someone can practice? So it does okay in the beginning, gives us natal, predictive, relationship, mundane, electional, horary, financial, medical, psychological, and Vedic. So then we ask for 10 more. And it does okay in the beginning, astrocartography, esoteric, but then it kind of loses it and it never gets it back. And I know, Marie, you had like 3 or 4 types that you were looking for that never came
It
up.
never came up. I mean, I was
Mm,
saying, okay, Uranian astrology. I don't practice Uranian astrology, but there are plenty of people who do.
mhm,
And where is it?
mhm.
There was several others that just
Uh,
weren't there.
Oh,
Um,
evolutionary did come in, but further
mhm,
down.
but
But
further down.
these aren't, yeah, before it gets there, it has astrological research, which, okay, it's a thing. Remedies is a
It's
thing.
yeah.
Education is a thing, but it's not a, a technique so
Mhm.
much.
Which tells you also, in my view, what it has access to, or are people who are in niches that aren't high on the list, how much information is out there about that particular niche. I think that there's a correlation
Mhm,
between how it, where it's landing, where a particular niche is landing on the list.
mhm. Yeah, yeah,
Astrological tourism.
yeah.
Wow.
It goes way, way off. It's a little lost by now.
Oh, that's a good
It's
niche,
lost its
though. We
way.
need to create it.
I'm working on that, trying to get some concepts together for a retreat
Oh
with
my
me over here in
goodness.
Italy someday.
I
So
love that.
yeah.
Logistics. Oh, yeah. Product development.
Now, what I wanted to show you is this one because I have this in, was it this one? I think this is the one where I did the same prompt in 3 different platforms just to see the difference.
Mm,
And I just did this morning. Um, we just did this morning so that that's not even important. We picked something that's pretty commercial right now, the solar eclipse, and just to see what the results would be on 3 different platforms. And you can see the prompt right here. And then you can see the response right here. And this one had this. It's always best to consult with a professional astrologer who can analyze your natal chart in detail and provide personalized insights into how this eclipse might affect you specifically. So we appreciate that. Thank you, Chat GPT.
they're learning.
Mhm. Now, if we go over here, this is Gemini, formerly known as Bard, and this is part of Google. And you can see the prompt here, same question. Now I'm logged in to Google. That's how I associated my account with me, is just through Google. So that's why my picture is there. So it recognizes me as a Google user. It
Mhm.
automatically reported that. So if you are a Google user and you log in through Gmail, you can just do that because you already have an account. This is what Gemini shared with me. You can see it's different.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
And it's giving me some resources. This is different. It's telling me to go look at a video on weekly astro forecast. This is a problem. There's probably hundreds of weekly astrology forecasts out there. I don't
Mhm.
know which one it's choosing. And there's no link, and I can't click on it. So I don't really know what that means. How's that going to help me?
Mhm.
And then it pulls up some yoga journal article on solar eclipse and new moon in Aries, which I think is a bit strange. And I don't see anywhere in here where it recommends that you see a professional astrologer.
Mhm.
So now I'll jump over to Perplexity, which you've heard me talk about a lot on here. Perplexity has the same layout. So you have up here, instead of the little box with the pencil, it actually has a new thread button. Same concept. library. So all of my, and I have quite a few searches. You have the place where you prompt at the bottom, and you have all the information above it. Now, if I go to the top, we did research for this presentation using this platform. I thought this was a good example of AI doing a fair to poor job on helping research for this project. And I'm going to share to you why. The first part might be a little scary, or you're not going to like it. I don't think you're going to like it. I certainly didn't like it. Marie, you didn't like it. We did not like
Yeah.
the response that it gave us. So I asked, I'm just going to read you my prompt. I'm doing a presentation on AI and its impact on our field, which is astrology. This is a free webinar that will be around 90 minutes. Do you have a suggestion for an outline? The main topics we should cover?
Mm-hmm.
Because I always like to see if I'm missing something. So I want to see what it said. We
Mm-hmm.
already had an outline. This was just to see, oh, are we missing anything?
Mm-hmm.
Here's the answer. Brace yourself. It said something like this. Explain how these platforms leverage AI and machine learning to generate personalized astrological readings and predictions.
Yeah.
Nope, that's not really what we're trying to do here. And this one, I was kind of boiling on the inside when I was reading this.
Yeah.
And there was something else, future of astrology. Now we are talking about the impact on humans. However, I felt like the direction it was going was that AI would take over for astrologers.
Yeah.
Now I'll share with you the prompt that I gave back. Oh my gosh, no. The first thing that I said. And I educated this particular program that this is what we don't really want to happen. And you can read my long prompt.
Mm-hmm.
And then you see that it apologized and recognized that it was an inappropriate outline and wanted to try again, which it did. And it did again and again. And it just didn't end up really going anywhere. I think we got a few sources of information for some of the statistics that we shared. At some point, it was kind of like, this is not really contributing to our presentation. It wasn't giving us anything that we felt like we missed or that was important for the
Mm-hmm.
presentation, and was just giving a whole lot of information that didn't really seem useful.
Yep. Now, this brings up something that I know is happening. There are app developers and AI developers trolling for information from astrologers, asking astrologers to enter contests, to do chart readings, um, because they want to make sure that the information that they're putting out there is specific to the astrological community, but they're not able to do that wholly, completely with the information that they're getting off the web. So, as an astrologer, you have to make the decision of whether or not you want to participate in that or not, in having your chart reading be a part of AI. That's a part of this conversation. And, so when you're contacted via social media, typically, or, asking you to participate in surveys, or where, make sure that you know what it is you're participating in, or if they're asking you for information. I saw one, or actually, I received an email or a couple of months ago, as a matter of fact, from a friend of mine who had come across an astrology um, contest, And they said that the person said that they were offering $1,000 for anyone who could read blindly a chart. They had to do, I think, 10 or 12 charts. And if they came close, whoever came closest to the right interpretation would get the $1,000. Well, when you think about $1,000, especially if you're an astrologer, you think, whoa, I can use $1,000. But what are you giving away? And in addition to that, you're having to do 10 or 12 chart readings, which, based on how much you're charging for your reading, may or may not be, for individual readings, may or may not be lucrative for you. But the point is, know what you're doing. I mean, these people are out here and they're looking to pick our brains for the wisdom that we have. That's really what I'm saying here. And you have to decide whether or not you're okay with that and whether or not you're okay with giving them your information. Personally, I am not, but you may be. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's see. Oh, I did want to point out, so this is why I like perplexity, because you can see that, I hope you can see when I hover over the little numbers after some text, that means that there's a citation, or a link, I should say. So if I see the one here and I go up and there's one here, I can click on this and it will open that website. So I can actually see the source of the information that it is serving up to us. So it's not the same as internet search, but it's like a combination. It is serving you up the citations of the material that it's pulling from, but it's also taking the information and putting it into a form that it's just responding to your prompt without you having to go to a website. But if you're like me and Marie, we like to cite our sources. If you're talking about something that usually there's research involved, or you're quoting somebody, obviously you want to cite your source. This makes it easier to get to that information. So that's perplexity. And you can just see when there's the little numbers, and I'm highlighting them for you, you can click on them and it will open the site. Or you can just look at the number and go up here and see those sources as well. So that is the one difference in perplexity. And it's really a competitor for Google because of this.
It's
Close this.
good.
Yeah. This is Bing. Bing is Microsoft. This is another can't even say it. Generative, another AI platform. And it looks a little different than the other ones, though. It has the Ask Me Anything right here. Microsoft Bing is the search engine for Microsoft. Used to be Internet Explorer way back in the day. Microsoft Bing is an internet search engine, but they have combined their AI into their search engine. So you can ask me anything. So let's see. Tell me about the solar eclipse in Aries.
Interesting.
Yeah, it keeps giving me
It
weird
keeps
years.
giving you, yes.
And Aries moon. Just to see if that it can even relate to like an actual chart. Now, do you see what happened? It pulled up search results like a regular search engine. But what is it doing over here on the right? It's bringing in that AI component. So Bing is definitely doing it differently. You have the search results, and then you have the Bing results. And I can click on see more, and it's just giving me what you would normally see with an AI search, like in the other programs, but it's also bringing up search results.
Mm-hmm.
You can go directly to Copilot from here. And that brings up the more general looking way. And that brings up a page that looks more like the AI pages that we saw in the other sites, because Copilot is the AI platform for Microsoft. So you'll see you have the prompt box at the bottom, you have the results above, and Microsoft Bing is also giving links to its sources.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just starting to use Bing more often. I have to say I wasn't using it as much as Perplexity, but I am starting to use it more often now. I do like how it combines search results with AI prompts. The other thing to note is if you are a Windows user, if you're on a PC-based system and you have Designer, which is a Microsoft product, you can have Bing or Copilot generate an image for you and then take it into Designer and alter that image. Something I have yet to do, but I know that it's possible. And that is another interesting component and a reason why you might want to use Microsoft Bing. You can also click this button called Deep Search. Now, right now, Astrology Hub is the #1 site that comes up from my prompt. Now I can click Deep Search, and it does a deeper search, and it puts Cafe Astrology as the first site. I'm still trying to figure out how that
Why?
works.
Yeah.
Right. But it is important. I wanted to point this out to you because if you're trying to get a blog or a web page to move up on the search results, knowing how this is working and how Cafe Astrology moved into that first spot and Astrology Hub was there before, what is it behind the search engine at Bing that made it do that?
Mm-hmm.
Microsoft Bing is a very small percentage of internet search right now. Google is the #1. It's got the majority by far. So you're going to be more interested in Google for right now. But how AI is evolving, you might want to look to Bing because Bing's got something really interesting going on, how it's combining the two, and understanding how you're doing there may give you some additional information. So that's something I'm going to be watching.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe when we do an updated video for you on AI, because it's constantly
Yeah.
evolving, we'll have a lot more information. Just wanted to show you that. So play around with it and see how that is working for you. There is one more platform that we wanted to show you before we move on to the images. And this is called Hugging Chat. And the reason why I use this one at all, because believe me, there's plenty with the other ones. I like this one because it's actually a lot of different AI apps all on one platform. So you can search the different AI assistants and find one that may be more focused on what you're doing. So I'm going to go back to a main page and look at the assistants. You can see here, there's different apps in the main body of the page. Like the other platforms, you have the previous chats on the left. You can hit the new chat button for a new chat. And if I actually was using one of these apps, you'd have a similar thing where the prompt is at the bottom and the information is above it. And I will show you that. But within here, you have all these different models. There's a lot, up to 35 pages of these. And if you're really into AI, you can do a lot more with this platform, far more than I've had a chance to do. You can see that there's different names because these different apps have a different meaning. This was interesting. Talk to Marcus Aurelius. if you were interested in talking to an ancient Roman. Personally, I'm more interested in talking to an Italian grandma.
I think that's fantastic. Let's talk to grandma.
Do that. We were playing with it the other day. It was so fun. We were asking her, well, look what she says to me. She doesn't even wait for a prompt. She says, "Hey, my little love, you hungry? Mangia, mangia." I live in Italy. They actually say mangia. What did we say? We did a few prompts. And you can see the prompt, you can see the response, you can see the prompt, you can see the response. You have an Italian grandmother. I had an Italian grandmother. Unfortunately, she's no longer with us, so I can't check with her. But I do live here and I'm around Italians, and I think this is quite hilarious. But when you're serious, so for example, this is what I tend to use this platform for. I wanted something that focused on copywriting, and I didn't even get to type the whole word before it popped
Yeah,
up. Two different apps that focus on copywriting. So if there's something specific that you want help with, then they might have it here, and you can come in here and look and see, get insulted. So if your shtick is you're a comedian and you throw insults out, there's actually an AI app that can help you with that. Just for fun, we'll look at another page. Crypto, bro. Now that's not for me, but it might be for you.
absolutely.
Here's one that creates an emoji for text. I haven't
Hmm.
tried that one. This rocket is on fire. Okay, how about a solar eclipse? Can you give me an emoji?
Oh, I'm sure it can.
Oh, I see what it's doing. I hadn't used this one before. It's giving text with the emojis. Huh.
Ah,
Because you know how
oh,
young
yeah.
people these days, they actually can have whole conversations only in emojis.
So that's what it's doing.
Yeah.
Huh.
What about Aries season? Huh, there you go. If you need some help with your modern day texting with emojis, there's an app for
Absolutely.
that, an AI app. So you
Oh,
can just add,
yeah, the one thing that we, for people who've never used AI, the copying and pasting of the information is a little bit different. That took me a bit of time to figure out. When you're copying from the AI program to say a Word document, or you're copying from a Word document to AI, you have to use different prompts. And I believe it's Control C for copy, Control V for paste, or something like that. But you have to figure that out for
mhm.
each
You're
app.
yes, and that is right. It should be right for everyone using the English language. Control C for copy, Control V for paste. I don't know if that changes by language.
Yeah,
If
I don't
somebody
know either.
listening knows the answer to that, you can put it in the comments.
Hmm.
Yeah, so have fun with this one. You can see, you just play. I see there was one roast or toast. It's like how the internet was when people just kind of got sucked in and they spend all their time on, or I
Hmm.
should say social media. You could just find playing on a AI platform, and because it's conversational, you'll
Hmm.
say something that says something back. There's probably a lot of lonely people in the world who love this AI thing because they actually have something that they can talk to.
Hmm. I could see with the roast or toast, that's actually something that Toastmasters teaches, how to
Oh,
roast someone, how to toast someone. So I could see Toastmasters who are needing help or needing to brainstorm how to roast somebody if they're actually doing it in one of their meetings, and coming here and giving a prompt and seeing what it comes up with.
wow.
See, Kepler College has Toastmasters, so maybe some of you guys are listening.
Yeah, I'm just throwing in a prompt. Why not?
Oh, wow.
Oh, it's giving an actual toast.
Wow.
Oh, but yet it says roast. Oh my. It's a roast.
Seriously, though.
Ah. Well, there you go. If you need a roast or a toast, you heard it here. We've shown you how to find one.
That's right.
Oh, goodness.
Mm.
Any other one you want to try out on here, Marie?
Oh my goodness. Go back and oh yeah, Chinese New Year. Oh wow. I wonder if they let's see.
Pimp my prompt. That's hilarious.
Oh, how about Professor?
Okay.
Professor Chat GPT. Oh, I love that. Professor GPT. Huh. Um, hmm. What's the oh yeah. Oh, what are your suggestions for learning astrology?
Good one.
Dear curious mind, I love that. I'm delighted that you have an interest in the ancient arts and science of astrology. Embrace a beginner's mind. Start with the basics. Get your own birth chart. Hey, just what we tell people.
Hmm.
Oh, yeah, I love respect different perspectives, patience and persistence. Read widely. It doesn't say anything about certification, though, which is
Oh,
important,
right.
but still,
Right.
this is a good way to start.
Not bad.
Not bad at all.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So those are a few different platforms that you can try out, and now you know how to use them. The thing is, none of them are going to let you go on and use it without logging in some way. I think all of them or most of them let you log
Mhm.
in if you have a Google account, or there's a few different accounts. So do know that you will have to give up some of that information in order to get logged in, but they are all free.
Mhm. And some of them you would just have a glyph on your computer and just go directly there, which works well. At least it works for me.
Yes, yes, that's such an important point, that many applications that you've already been using for a long time have now brought AI in. I'm Canva is one mo a most popular application that people use. There is the Google Suite, the Microsoft Suite. I'm not sure about Mac because I don't use pages or numbers, but I would imagine they have also brought in an AI component. Most big companies, the apps that you use on a regular basis, they all already have some sort of AI component built into the software.
Mhm.
What we've demonstrated today are actual AI platforms. They're just standalone AI platforms, but you will find AI is in many of the different software that you are already using.
Mhm.
Are you ready to do images?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
I'm we only have the one platform that we're showing you today. The one that had made the news, Midjourney, which is also part of, I want to say it's another open AI, or no, that's DAL-E. That's part of open AI, same company as Chat GPT. That is kind of like the driving generator of images, and a lot of these different platforms that generate images are using that. But it's quite complicated, or it was for me, to use the DAL-E directly through OpenAI. So I found Copilot, and that's the one that I've been using. And also Canva. I use Canva. If I'm generating images, it's one of these two. If you have others that you've used successfully, feel free to put something in the comments. We'd love to hear any platform, doesn't have to be images. Just would love to hear if you're using it, how you're using it, what your experience was. Please share in the comments below. So Copilot is the generative AI component of Bing, which is Microsoft. And here are some examples. And I don't think you can see them very well, but I think I have the page where, yeah. So I want to show you, I have a history of images, and I want to show you this one, for example. I'm asking for colors, but I also asked for astrology. Let's see if I can get to the prompt. The prompt was in the beginning. There it says depth astrology. And this is what it gives me. I did this quite a while ago. None of them are useful, but they're beautiful, right?
They sure are. They
But
could go
not
on
one
a
of them is
t-shirt.
accurate. So unfortunately, or these.
Yeah.
And I asked it to give me 12 instead of 16, and it gave me the number 12, but it didn't give me 12 houses.
Mm-hmm.
So you see that, put 12 in the middle. I'm sure that was a regeneration of something from before. Let's see if I can find another one. Kepler astrology. What's wrong with that text?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, now sometimes it did get Kepler right. It even got the K with the little thingy that goes
Mm-hmm.
out underneath the E. That's our logo. It must have found that on the internet.
It had to.
I
Yeah.
didn't prompt it, right? And it does have astrology of healing. You can see that where we have a new certificate and diploma in medical astrology. But look at how it's spelled astrology. There's two L's. And it's Kepler, not Kepler.
Oh my
And this
goodness.
as astrology.
Astali.
So this
Astali.
is, yeah,
Astrology.
yep, yes. You can see how it can create really cool designs, but not usable.
Mm-hmm.
If you are an artist, though, if you do your own design or if you have a graphic designer and you can, in the past, you have to tell your designer, I want it to look like this. You're basically given a prompt to your designer. But what if you could get close or you have AI help you come up with something that you couldn't have even invented in your head? Like some of these I
Right.
look at and I'm like, oh, I am now inspired with the idea. So now I can tell my graphic designer, this is what I want.
Absolutely. Along those lines, I am a believer in energy. And when something is created by, in my opinion, a human, the energy of that human goes into whatever is created, which brings up the question of when AI generates an image, what energy is going into that? And I say that because when you pick up a book, you have a feeling of that book. There's an energy around it. And in the end, all of the people who went into creating that book, their energy is in it. It's like baking a cake, and it's going to taste as good as not just the ingredients, but the energy of the people who created it. And so, you know, right now with I see it as cold when it comes to images. The images are beautiful, but what energy is behind it. And this is a conversation starter that I'm throwing out here, because of my background with Native American training. I was taught that, when you pick up something, you can feel it. You can feel the energy of whoever created it. And that becomes a component in these images that we're seeing here. But anyway, that's just my 2 cents on that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the human spark.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about that when we were brainstorming for this presentation, and that human spark. Yeah. Okay. And the way that you get these, in case you didn't catch that, is you can go to Copilot and do your prompts here, or you can go back to the home page, Microsoft Bing or bing.com, and there's that Copilot. You can just click on that. Copilot is the AI part, and Microsoft Bing is the internet search part. It took me a while to understand what the difference was, but the main difference is that the Copilot is bringing in the generative AI. So that's how you get there.
Mm-hmm.
The last thing that we're going to show you in our demonstration is we wanted to pull up Canva, because so many people use Canva, to show you that there's Magic Studio. When you get into the homepage of Canva, usually looks something like this. Magic Studio is on the upper left-hand side under the home button. You can click on Magic Studio, and these are all the different types of AI solutions are. The right, so it will do text, text to video, text to image. So you can go check out your Magic section. There's different things that it does: cut things out, edits, expands, etc. If you're in an actual document, so this is a document or file in Canva, doesn't have anything on it. But what I wanted to show you is, if you go to apps, so you should all have something like this in your Canva program where it says apps with the 9 dots. You can click on that and you can search for different apps, but if you've already added them, they will be on the list. So you can add them and then use them. So I have Magic Media, and I have HeyGen AI. There should be a DAL. There we go, DAL E. This is usually the basis of all of the generative AI images out there, is DAL E from OpenAI. But you can see you don't have to go to OpenAI, which is the company of ChatGPT. You can just use it inside of an application, and many applications use it. This is what it looks like in Canva. Here's where you put in your prompt. And I'm going to say the Aries glyph. Oops. A solar eclipse and a colorful rainbow over Niagara Falls, because we'll be broadcasting live from Niagara Falls for the solar eclipse. So let's just see what it's going to generate for us. And that's what you do. If you didn't see that, I quickly hit the generate button, but there was a generate button, and then you wait and it will magically
upload.
Yes. So I asked for a rainbow.
That's interesting, that glyph. It's just,
yeah, but I don't see the Aries glyph.
yeah, it's in it. What is that in the center? Is that a bird?
I think that is the attempt to do the Aries glyph.
What is?
So that's no good. Can't even use that.
No, it's like, what is that in the sky?
I know. And I think I've had more luck with the other. I'm going to try Magic Media. And this one has styles, so you can change it to like anime and dreamy or think like something like that. All right, I'm going to try something different because clearly it did not do a good job.
No.
Do you want to do a prompt?
Oh, wow. We could do a prompt of, say, a sunrise with a um, sunrise on Easter morning. Let's just say that. Or we could have put it in Rome or in, mm,
Not bad. It's realistic.
yeah,
It
it
doesn't
is.
look like AI generated like the other one.
It really doesn't. Yeah.
All right, let's do one more and then we'll move on. Sunrise over the Colosseum in Rome. And I must have spelled that wrong. Oh, Colosseum. I should know that.
I guess I can only do that if the Colosseum, based on the direction of the Colosseum.
That's true. Well, you can go all the way around.
Okay. Oh, that's good.
That's not bad at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's very pretty. So you can see, and I wonder, I don't remember if I can change it. I'm going to try. I just clicked on dreamy watercolor. I don't think it's changing.
No.
So you might, I guess you have to choose that before. But as you can see, this is another platform that you can play with and have a lot of fun. You can go down the rabbit hole on this and spend hours playing with it and actually not produce anything. So that is another thing to be aware of is that it can pull you in and take a lot of your time and not actually help you with anything.
But
Okay,
it may increase your creativity, though, you
yeah.
know.
Mhm. And
And
you may
I,
get a
yeah.
really cool picture. Like this to me is beautiful.
Mm-hmm. It really is.
Yeah.
And I know when I was creating the cover for my book, I was talking to um, my publisher, and we spent at least 35, 40 minutes of question and answer of what I wanted, what my vision was. And it would have been, I don't know if I had have had access to AI, if that would have helped. I would think that it would, because I still wanted someone, a painter, an artist to create it. I didn't want it, well, didn't have the possibility of AI when I did it, but I wouldn't want AI to generate the cover of my book. But that's just me. I'm like
Mhm.
that. But an AI program could help me um, demonstrate to an artist what I'm looking for, so that they can create it and hopefully not copy what AI has generated, but to, express my ideas better.
Yeah. Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's a way for you to look at your ideas visually
Mm-hmm.
because what you think you might like, once you see the product, the finished product, you may be like, I don't like that as much as I thought I would. But if
Mm-hmm.
you could see that idea first, it would help you know, like, yeah, this is the direction I want to go. Now I'm ready to take
Mm-hmm.
this to my designer.
Exactly. So I actually, for me, I can't imagine designers going away. I think that designers will just figure out a way to um, use AI to their benefit.
Yeah, that's what we hope.
Yeah.
Okay, are we ready to move on from the
Oh,
demonstration?
yes, we are.
So now we've talked about AI, we've looked at AI. Now we just wanted to briefly talk about AI in the future. It's evolving and it's so complex and we don't really know where it's going to go. So we thought we would just touch on a few things to take a look into the future.
Mhm.
You want to talk about this, Marie?
Oh my goodness. I mean, we were looking at the global AI market and the size of it last year. And of course, it was 208 billion last year. It's expected or projected to grow by 2030 to 2 trillion. That's a huge number. And I believe that it may even be more than that. Um, what One of the things that we've talked about on this video is, how do you stay viable? Because there are going to be a lot of people whose jobs will shift and change. And your job as an astrologer, of course, is going to shift and change. But how do you want it to shift? How do you, want to serve your client? Our view is that you don't want to operate in fear with AI, because you can cause yourself a lot of suffering if you're going to be if you're going to be fearful. So get educated, which is one of the um, reasons that we're doing this video, so that you know where you fit. Because your job as an astrologer, you have to be adaptable. There are going to be people who will lose their job, and that is sad on the one hand. On the other hand, people who lose their job, maybe they will then do something that they love. Or because if you love your job, if it's your passion, I truly don't believe it's going to go away. I believe that you are going to just evolve and adapt with it. Businesses can expect 6% to 10% revenue increase from adopting AI. I know this is true based on just the conversation that I had with my accountant the other day, because he's going to be able to bring on more clients. You, as an astrologer, AI can help you to be more efficient. Maybe it will help you to see more clients. Most of us out here are solopreneurs. We don't work for an astrology company, although there are some, I'm sure there are some out here in the world, but we're solopreneurs and we want to be more effective. We want to deliver a good product to our client, our who we're giving astrology readings to. Using AI can help you be more professional. It can help you pretty much with most of the work that you're doing. AI can help you with that. So I'm a proponent of using it. Just do your due diligence with checking the data, the information that you're giving, to make sure that it's accurate. But it certainly has, or I have benefited from it myself based on what I've used it for. So yeah, Lori.
Yeah, me too. I definitely use it and it helps me get there faster in some ways. And in other ways, if I get overly involved in AI, it can have the opposite, where I spend too much time trying to do something in AI and it has
Mhm,
that diminishing returns. So that's what you have to watch out for,
mhm,
is that it's actually giving you a return on your investment and not a diminishing return.
mhm. Absolutely. And it's, you know, we talk about having an edge, each how do you have an edge? How do you get clients to come to you? Well, you can always feed that into AI as a prompt and see what AI comes up with. Maybe it'll give you some ideas that you hadn't thought about. Now, I do believe that with all of the technology that we have, I think that there is a thirst that is growing with the population, a thirst of wanting human contact, wanting human interaction. And I believe at some point, we will level out with AI the longer it is out here. And even though it will become more advanced, we will find that we still want that human contact. That's critical because we are humans and we're pack animals and we need touch. We need people. We need our peeps. And that's our superpower. We are human. So,
Yeah. I can't help but thinking this period of time with Pluto and Aquarius, there's that thing about our brains and how we only use this small percentage of our brain,
mhm,
that somehow this may be part of expanding how much of our brain space we're using, because AI can compile so much information and give it to us. It's like we're also increasing the amount of information we're feeding to our brain.
mhm, mhm.
It's interesting thought.
Yeah, our learning then would grow exponentially, or we hope it would.
Mhm.
Our learning capability.
Yeah. Okay, so is these are some things that Marie and I thought would be important to talk about, just the ethical considerations as we wrap up our presentation today. The first thing is it's not going away. Anytime I read an AI article, I'd say 1 out of 3, this is the theme, this is the thread. It's not going away. And so knowing that whether we like it or not, it's here and it's here to stay, it's time to think about how you are going to embrace it or not. If you embrace it, it's probably going to be easier for you and your business moving forward. And that, as Marie has touched on a few times, is using it in an ethical manner and putting your voice out there as to what you want, become a part of the conversation. Hiding away from AI won't make it go away. So if you have something that you want heard, you can contact your local political office. You can get together with other people, groups of like-minded people, and even band together as an industry. I'm sure we're going to see these conversations coming up more and more in the astrological community. There's organizations, there's conferences. People are going to be talking about it, and go in and bring your voice in whenever you can. The next piece of this is quoting where you're getting your information. Now, many of us who went to college, especially went to college before the computers were such a big thing, we learned about citing our sources and finding them in books. Now information is just at the tips of our fingers, and sometimes we forget that it came from somewhere. So just be aware that you want to quote where you're getting your information from. If
Mhm.
you're pulling information from somewhere else, make sure you're citing the reference of who you're pulling it from.
Absolutely. And that's honoring the person or the group that actually created that information. It's important to do that.
Yes. The next thing that we think is really important is that you copyright your materials. Brand everything that you put out there. Every page on your website should have your branding. Every freebie that you give away should have your logo on it. Anytime you go on social media for your business, you want to be sure that the branding is there. When you're a guest on somebody else's podcast, YouTube channel, social media, whatever it is, bring your brand along, because hopefully in the future, that's what AI is going to do, is it's going to source all of its material. And if you're creating original material, you want to be sourced. So you want to have the copyright, the C with the circle and copyright with your materials. It's very important.
You do, if it's at all possible, you definitely want to be credentialed because AI is not. And this is how you're going to help differentiate yourself in the not only in the astrological community, but also with the wider public. You'll find that there are people who will only work or who really want to work with astrologers who are certified and credentialed. And if you have that credentialing, that is going to benefit you. That goes to your credibility. That not only do you learn, you're demonstrating to your client by your credentials that you really know your stuff, that you are uh, a qualified astrologer. So I would highly recommend credentialing as a way um, you know, to gain credibility, to, of course, learn the ethics of astrology because the credentialing programs out here talk about ethics. And there are ethics that you must follow if you want to be a part and remain a part of certain organizations. So I would highly recommend getting credentialing.
Yes. And we are on the Kepler College channel. So just to say that you can get credentials at Kepler College. We
Mm-hmm.
have certificates and diploma programs. As this becomes more important in time, think about how you might want to do that. What credentials do you want to have?
Yeah. Yeah. And one more thing about credentials, when the organization that you're credentialed with, they become also your network, which means that if you have questions later on, if you have concerns, if you have something that you need an answer to, you can always go to that organization because they're your peeps now because you're credentialed, and you'll get the help that you need. You have a place to go. You're not just out here by yourself, is what I'm trying to say with that.
Yes.
You have help.
Yes. I think we've talked a bit about niche already, so I don't know that we need to talk more about that. Just
Right.
that the ethical consideration part was that this is what's going to help you stand out in a
Mm-hmm.
crowded field, that now AI can reproduce some of the more general astrology chart, like the chart information, the placements of planets, and the definition of what that's like. And at some point in the not too distant future, it's probably going to synthesize as well. And if you want to really hold on to the proprietary or the a method that AI would not get to, I can't say never, but when you
Mm-hmm.
think about evolution, if you're putting together a delivery that mixes astrology with something else, for example, you may have a much longer period of time before AI can even come close to replicating.
Oh, absolutely. Because it,
Yeah,
it won't be it won't be on the radar of AI. And when I say radar, it's if you've got a narrow niche, then there probably isn't a lot of information out there
right.
about that niche.
Mhm.
And so that's to your advantage. I mean, I'm an astrologer and a life coach, as is Lori. And I don't see anything out there. I don't see that much out there on that niche.
Right. And I think a lot of people were organically moving in that direction anyway. You see yoga practitioners bringing in astrology. You see human design bringing in
Mhm.
astrology.
Mhm.
People are mixing together their modalities, healing modalities with astrology. And the more unique you are, the harder it's going to be for AI to be able to replicate that. So
Mhm.
I think that is a consideration for how you might want to move forward with your practice.
Mhm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we did, in this is true too, we bring the human spark. And that can't, I don't believe that can be replicated because we're dealing with our history, our combined, I mean, the history of our lives, the history of our experiences. We bring that to the table when we're coaching, when we're doing astrology readings. It's not just dry. It's not just, oh, well, you have this configuration, so this must be true. This is what I'm giving you. No, we're looking at the whole person that we are working with and using all of the experiences that we've had to give that person our best interpretation of their chart or whatever question it is they're asking. We're also drawing on our intuition, which is, you know, that brings in the spiritual part of it. And I question whether AI can bring in a spiritual component and bring in the intuitive um, aspect, or I just don't think it ever will be able to, but maybe
Mhm.
it will.
Mhm. And even if it does, if it gets sentient and can have that compassion or empathy, which I know that they're working on because I read an article about it, it doesn't mean that the consumer wants it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's an
Yes.
important thing to remember, right? When we think about the generational differences and the consumer preference for delivery, those of us who are in our 50s and 60s, there's a lot of astrologers that are in that age range and a lot of consumers in that age range who may always want to see a live person. And that
Mm-hmm.
will just be fine for us until retirement. But if you're younger, as if you're in your 30s, by the time that you're our age, 50s, 60s, AI is going to be far more developed and you have a much longer time that you're going to be serving your clients. So there's a much greater evolution that you're going to experience than the astrologers who are more well known right now, who are out
Mm-hmm.
doing the conferences and teaching the courses, the ones who have moved to the top of the field. Their trajectory looks different than yours if you're younger, if you're a millennial, if you're a Gen Z. You have a different landscape in front of you. And if you will be seeing clients that are younger, like if that's your demographic, if you're seeing 20 somethings, they probably have a much higher desire to use technology.
Mm-hmm.
They may be, they will be. I mean, that's not even a question. Statistically speaking, they're more comfortable with technology and they're going to be more open to getting advice from a computer. Whereas somebody that's in their 40s, 50s, 60s, there's of the less of a chance that that's going to be their preferred choice. So even if they
Mm-hmm.
could get an excellent reading from a computer, are they going to choose a computer or are they going to choose a human? So even if it's there, the preference of delivery still lies in the hands of the
Yep.
consumer.
Sure does. Certainly does.
Yeah.
All right.
Did you want to
I
talk about your, I loved how you said this the other day about the new Saturnian archetypes that were bringing the Capricorn age into the
Oh,
Aquarius.
we are because we of course, we've got these paradigm shifts that are happening. So we're moving, of course, from, of course, the Piscean age into the Aquarian age. And we are moving from, Saturn ruled Capricorn to Saturn ruled Aquarius with Pluto. And of course, Pluto we know is generational. And it's the game, Pluto demands that we transform, that we change, that we dig deep. And when I was thinking about AI and when it first came on the radar, we were really in the Pluto in Capricorn phase. And now we're in the Pluto in Aquarius phase. And so Saturn still rules both. It's just different. It just has a different emphasis. So with Capricorn, Capricorn is about climbing the mountain. And of course, you have to know in Capricorn whether you're climbing the right mountain. Because when you get to the top and you're looking for that pot of gold, is it at the top of that mountain or at the top of another mountain? So, so with AI and with what we're doing, or what we've done with Capricorn, we've been, Saturn has said, do the hard work, climb that mountain, become an expert, do this work. In Aquarius, because it's about really the collective and the group and the people, in Aquarius, because you've climbed that mountain, now you're responsible for disseminating all of the knowledge, all of the wisdom that you gained climbing that mountain. It's time to disseminate that out to the public, to help the group, because we are only as strong as the weakest member of our group. So, and this is, one of the things that we're doing here today is very Aquarian, Saturnian in Saturn in Aquarius, because we're disseminating information. And we're going to be dealing with Pluto in Aquarius for 20 years. What is that going to look like? What do we, gone, I've got 2 points to make here. What do we want this period of time that Pluto is in Aquarius to look like? I mean, of course, we still have to deal with Uranus because the planet of earthquakes and lightning bolts, we're going to deal with change constantly. But we're still also going to be dealing with Saturn, and Saturn is still about maturity and being an expert and doing your due diligence and doing the hard work. So, when I think about AI, Saturn is still going to be there asking for accountability with AI, and that means asking us to be accountable and what we want to have out here in how we want to help um, the rest of us evolve, because it is about the whole. So yeah, that's what I wanted to say um, about that. So it's brand new. It's not Capricorn. And one other thing, I said I was done, but one other thing, most of us who are born, um, most of us who were born before uh, Capricorn, before Pluto entered Capricorn, most of us are from the old paradigm. And so we're being dragged, sometimes kicking and screaming, into the Aquarian age. And there are people who will not be open to what the Aquarian age is bringing, which is, of course, AI is a part of it. Those children who are being born today and were probably born during the Pluto and Capricorn phase, they are going to be much more open to accepting AI and having it be a part of their lives. Those of us who came before, some of us are the bridge between the two ages. And actually, I believe most of us who were born prior to, say, the early 2000s, we are the bridge. And we're hopefully going to bring the positive attributes of Capricorn into the Aquarian age, because Aquarius becomes the antidote to Capricorn. Each sign, as you know, is the antidote to the previous sign. So when you look at the shadow of Capricorn, Aquarius comes in and hopefully answers that, or how do we put this? Aquarius comes in and is the remedy for the Capricorn shadow. Now, Aquarius has its own shadow, which we won't get into here today, but yeah, that's what I wanted to say about that.
Thank
Anything
you.
to add to that, Lori?
No, I think you said that very beautifully. There's just one point that we didn't cover yet on here, and that's the avoid divisiveness.
Mm,
I think it's a nice addition for what you just said, is just to ask everyone to approach this subject with an open mind. There's going to be people who embrace and love AI, and there's going to be people who really don't like it and are very against it. And we already have so much polarity in the world
mm,
that the the idea that we're sharing is that don't let this be another thing that creates this divisiveness and polarity, to come at this subject with a curious mind and listen to what others say, even if they have a very different take on AI than you do. Like, you may be listening to this and saying, I really don't like those two people because they're pushing that AI thing that I don't want. We get it. I was one of those people a year ago. And the invitation is to come at this with an open mind and listen to what others say, and hopefully others will listen to what you have to say as well. And we know that this is going to be a conversation in our community. Bring that to conferences, bring it to your local astrology groups, bring it to your forums, and bring it in a way that it's a conversation, because we all know nobody likes to be talked down to or to be told what to do or to be yelled at. So if you really want to be heard, it's using language that is curious, and also you state your beliefs, of course, in a way that people can respond, and we continue this conversation.
absolutely. Don't be dictatorial. You must do this. No.
No.
Remember, we are Aquarian in astrology, so we are supposed to be inclusive and open. So let's do it.
Yeah. Yes. Okay, these pages are resource pages. They are here for you to take a screenshot if you'd like. I mentioned, or we mentioned, I know Marie and I both watched the astrology podcast that Chris
Mhm.
Brennan did with Nick Dagan Best. And I know he did too. There was another one he did
Yeah.
earlier with Kent. And I don't have the link to that one, but I do have the link here for the one that he did fairly recent. And he talks a lot more about the astrology. So he'll go into detail on charts and transits. So we thought we'd refer you to that instead of replicating.
Mhm.
And then there's a few other articles that you might want to read. This is a resource page for governmental websites on AI. I believe this is all the United States, so you could take a screenshot of that. This would be other parts of the world. Not the top one is Harvard, but
Mhm.
there's the European Commission, and then there's African Union Development Agency if you are located in Africa. And then here we have Canada, Australia, and Asia Pacific region. So you can grab screenshots of that. Also wanted to include the definitions of the different types of AI. There used to be an image
There used to
there.
be an image there. What happened?
I
AI
don't
took it
know.
out.
Maybe. I think it might be bandwidth, so I apologize for that. There should be images there created from AI, but it's not there. And this is us. So Marie, you
Yeah,
have two courses you teach at Kepler.
I
Do you
do.
share a little bit?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I teach life coaching skills for astrologers to astrologers. That particular course is taught in the spring every year. The next course is really the business part of setting up a life coaching business with astrology. That course is taught in the summer. If you're interested in both of those courses or one, you can go to the Kepler store. There's information on when they're being taught. You do not have to take the first course, the fundamentals of life coaching, to actually take part two. They're designed to be separate, but I would love it if you took both of them because then you get more of a well-rounded education with that. I love teaching those courses because so many astrologers are interested in how do they now add life coaching skills to their astrology readings. And it's another way to increase your income too, because now you give an astrology reading, as it is now, you give an astrology reading and the person goes away and they have to figure out how to implement what you've talked to them about or how to work through the issues when in fact there is an opportunity for you to continue working with them. So those are wonderful courses. And Lori, you have a wonderful marketing course too for astrologers.
I do. This is a 5-week course that goes through the different components of marketing your business, from your marketing plan to your branding, your website design, email marketing, social media. We cover the whole spectrum,
Mhm.
and it runs in the fall. So I hope that you will join me in the fall if you want some help with marketing your business or launching.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I also do the coaching. So we like to see more and more astrology coaches out there because it's a very helpful service for people.
It
Yeah.
is. It absolutely is. And it's, the clients that I have worked with who didn't know anything about astrology, um, you know, astrology is used kind of like some of the other programs that are available, the personality programs and things like that. Astrology goes deeper, in my opinion, than the other programs that are out there. So I think it works great. All right. So, yes, if you are interested in learning more about what I do or, having a reading or anything, this is my information. I'm an astrologer, life renewal coach, and author. You can check out my website. The contact information is there. I also have my own YouTube channel, which is Padma Life Coach. You can check that out. Find me on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. So, yes, thank you for listening to us today. And please be sure to like and subscribe to this YouTube channel and let us know what you are interested in. Please comment on this video too below.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us and watching this. You can reach me at loribarnesastrology.com, and I have individual astrology sessions that I offer, as well as astrology and coaching. And I also do coaching for those of you who are astrologers and you're
Mhm.
wanting to launch, develop, or scale your business. I do astrobiz coaching, and you can see all my information there. You can take a screenshot, and we will be back next month with a new video. We love to hear your comments and any suggestions you have on topics, because we definitely take those into consideration every
Mhm.
month when we're deciding what we're going to talk about. And that's it.
Absolutely. Yes. See you next time.
See you next time. Thanks.